Its law is set to take effect in 2028. Coming up, President Trump set to settle his lawsuit over the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris for $16 million up front. What does this mean for CBS News parent company Paramount? We'll discuss with our panel, Nick Smith and Matt Klink. And welcome back to the Capitol Report. I'm Steve Lance. House Republican leadership working to secure enough votes to pass President Trump's tax and immigration bill ahead of the July 4th soft deadline. So what are the key hurdles? Joining us now live to discuss, Nick Smith, Democratic strategist, and Matt Klink, Republican strategist, president of Klink Campaigns. Great to have you both with us. Matt, let's start with you. So what are the odds you think this bill passes before deadline, soft deadline, mind you, July 4th?
Probably about 95%. The only thing that would prohibit it from doing so is if the Republicans don't have the attendance that they need to get it done. It's not a question of if it passes, it's a question of when it passes. And, I think that it makes for a nice drama about the disagreement, but the Republicans will sink or swim on the passage of this bill.
I was just watching X and saw Congressman Tim Burchett coming out of the White House with the group. Congressman Scott Perry, Ralph Norman, who was a holdout, voted no coming out of the Rules Committee. And he seemed optimistic with Ralph Norman by his side. Nick, how do you think this vote will affect Republicans from moderate districts who support the bill and are up for re-election? And do you think it's going to make its way through?
Yeah, I agree with Matt. I think Republicans will sink or swim. I think they're going to sink. When you look at the populations of folks who are impacted by this law, you will see sheer devastation when it comes to health care, ripping away health care from so many people, making it more difficult to get student loans. So many populations are going to be negatively impacted. And to say that families are going to get $3,000 in a tax cut is not going to offset the devastation that's in that bill. So I predict if it passes, it'll be a narrow margin, and it's going to bode very poorly for the GOP come the next election.
Matt, I'll give you a chance to respond to it. Midterms, much of it is President Trump's agenda that he campaigned on. If it passes, does it help or hurt Republicans?
Well, I think that what the lesson that they learned from the Biden White House when they did their reconciliation package back at the start of his presidency is that you got to pass it early so that you have time to let the provisions take effect. And I think that for the extension of the tax cuts to make them permanent, the no tax on tips, the no tax on overtime, the no tax on Social Security, all of the tax package benefits involved, they need time to hit so that the economy really takes off. And again, I think that the 26th election is ultimately going to be decided on economic issues, just like 24 was primarily. And if the economy is strong, it will bode well for the Republicans. But it is going to be close. Nick's right. But everything's close because the House and the Senate are closely divided.
Matt, just a quick follow-up for you to Nick's previous point. One of the provisions that was not in the president's agenda because of the nuance is Medicaid and, sort of the alterations to Medicaid. Does this pose risk for Republicans come midterms?
Well, it depends how it's sold, and this is the difference in Washington, D.C. There's actually a slight increase in Medicaid funding, except it's not as high as the projected increase, and only in Washington, D.C. is that a cut. And the fact that it forces able-bodied men and women to go back to work to keep their health care, and it kicks 1.4 million illegal immigrants off Medicaid that, by the way, they're not entitled to. Democrats want to fight for that. I think the Republicans would love to have that fight in the 2026 elections.
Nick, give you a chance to respond.
Absolutely. So the Congressional Budget Office showed that 12 million Americans, including rural Americans in red-leaning states, are going to lose health coverage, not only Medicaid, but the Affordable Care Act. So I'm very happy as a Democratic strategist to encourage my party to say, hey, run through this election and show how the Republicans passed a bill that would lead so many Americans to losing coverage after the success we had with the Republican framed Affordable Care Act. SNAP, food benefits. So we're cutting food benefits in this bill. We're cutting health care. How does that bode well for the middle and lower class Americans in terms of elections? It doesn't. And, you know, when you said, Matt, earlier, and talk about the timing of passing a bill, yeah, there's a reason why it's being rushed through for some artificial deadline. It's because there are poison pills in this bill for everyday Americans. And by the way, tax on tips, watered down. Social Security, no tax, watered down. I've read these provisions. So this bill waters down Trump's promises and cuts health care, cuts food benefits, and makes it harder to get student loans. It's a horrible bill.
Matt, I got 30 seconds for you.
Nick, I respect your opinion. We just disagree. And look, this is why we have campaigns. We'll fight. We'll fight on the ideas, preferably not the personalities of the candidates involved. And I think that's the way elections work best. And whichever side is best at convincing their respective voters to turn out and vote, may he or she win. So I'm pretty confident that Trump and the Republicans, that this bill is that package to do it. But I can guarantee you one thing: if this bill goes down, the Democrats it will be a wipeout for the Democrats, because Republicans will be responsible for the largest tax increase in U.S. history.
I think you meant to say Democrats, but we'll leave it at that.
Republicans will be responsible for it. I did mean to say Republicans.
Is that right?
If they don't pass,
That's right on that one.
If they don't pass the bill, the Trump tax increases go away and taxes increase by $4.5 trillion.
And you don't think the Democrats will have a hand in it for voting no as well?
They are not going to cast one vote for this thing. The Republicans do it by themselves or it fails. And they know that.
Fascinating stuff. Nick Smith, Matt Klink, appreciate both of you. Coming up, as the nation braces for a busy week.